can in Canada? And the answer is you can't in Canada because Fido, Bell, Telus, all these big conglomerate companies monopolize the market. So what we're here to talk to you today is how every time somebody uses a phone in the Philippines, you're going to make money off that. Every time someone sends a text message, every time someone sends an email, every time someone picks up the phone and makes a phone call, you'll make money. Okay? And that's the whole concept. Would you all agree that the cell phone industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry? By the way, even though this is a presentation and I'm here to present to you the details, I want to make sure that this is kind of back and forth. If I ask questions, just either nod, raise your hand, say yes, no. I want to make sure, it feels really weird if I'm the only one talking and everyone just staring at me. So it makes me feel better if everyone just participates a bit. But would you all agree the cell phone industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry?
Yes.
Absolutely.
How would you guys like to make money off that? How would you guys like to capitalize on every time someone uses their phone, you guys can make money? That'd be awesome? Okay, so that's what we're here to talk about today. The company itself, by the way, we're going to be ending at exactly 7:10, and I'm going to open it up for questions afterwards. If any of you have to leave, that's fine. Whoever invited you here can follow up with you, but if you can stay till 7:10, stay for questions answered afterwards, that's great. If you have more time, we're going to be doing a training from 7:30 to 8:30 for those of you who really want to get in detailed questions, in detailed training on how to build this business. So that's the schedule for today. If somebody can hit the lights, it's the first switch closest to the door.
Hit the lights.
Okay. So basically, the company itself is called VMobile. Now, VMobile was established in April 29, 2008. So it's a fairly new company. It's only 3 years old. They're a subsidiary of a company called Penta Capital. Now, Penta Capital is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they helped fund VMobile. VMobile is basically, they had an idea, and they went to Penta Capital, and they said, Penta Capital, we have a franchise opportunity for all over the Philippines. This is our vision. This is our business plan, but we need funding. And they went to Penta Capital, and Penta Capital fully funded VMobile. And they said, here's the money, instead of paying us back what you owe us, we want to take ownership of your idea because we love your idea. So they took 75% ownership of VMobile. So Penta Capital, when you research, do your own due diligence. When you research VMobile, you also want to research Penta Capital because Penta Capital is in charge of 75% of all of the expenses and 75% of paying us all the payouts. But they also make 75% of the profits after it's all said and done. VMobile is in charge of 25% of the profits, 25% of the payouts, and they make 25% when it's all said and done. So that's the synergistic working relationship between Penta Capital and VMobile. Penta Capital is an investment corporation established in 1957, the leading independent investment house in the Philippines. So some of you know companies like KFC, 7-Eleven, Shell, Manila Waters, I see some Filipinos in the room, different companies that you're familiar with. These companies are basically all came to Penta Capital and said, look, we want to open up a KFC, but we can't afford to open up a KFC. So Penta Capital says, we'll give you the money, but we're going to take most of the ownership because they know KFC is a successful franchise model. Everybody wants to own a KFC or a McDonald's franchise. Most people can't afford it. That's where Penta Capital comes in. VMobile is part of the DTI and SEC. Now this is very important, and I'm going to give you a website at the end where you guys can do your own research. It's really hard to read the small print on this, but at the same time, I'm just going to give you a quick overall of what this is. Basically, the DTI and the SEC, they're registered with the government of the Philippines, so that's the Security Exchange Commission, and it's very important for people to know because when somebody comes up to me and says, look, there is an opportunity to send money to the Philippines to start a business, the first thing people think about, well, is it some rinky-dink business that we're giving somebody some money in the Philippines that's running it out of their own basement, right? Or is it a legitimate company registered and recognized by the government of the Philippines? Well, these are the certifications. You guys can look on the website later on, read these documents. It has all the certifications with the government, so it is a legal registered company. So that's very important when you talk to the people that you meet. Basically, VMobile is also an accredited key account holder of the top 3 telecom companies. When Felix first saw this, he's like, I travel back and forth to the Philippines all the time. Why haven't I heard of VMobile? How come I haven't heard about it? VMobile is so big, why haven't I heard of VMobile? So he called up his cousin who works at Sun Telecommunications, and he asked his cousin, he says, cousin, who is VMobile? Who's this VMobile I'm hearing about? And his cousin says, Felix, VMobile is our key accredited account holder. Not only are they our key account holder, they run more volume for us than any other distributor of load in the Philippines. And Felix was like, okay, that's due diligence enough for me. And so Felix was like, okay, if he's gonna do this, he needs to move back to the Philippines full time. So he actually came to Canada, he called me up, and he's like, Daniel, this is something that I know that can bless a lot of lives. We can change, because Nestle's dad, basically, he had to go be an OFW, an overseas worker. And the problem with that was that for the last 18 years, he's making money to send back home to support the rest of his family. And Felix is like, there's so many Filipinos that are separated from their families. Why can't we reunite Filipinos? Why can't we have people and just take the money factor away? Now they can be together. If they make enough money, why do they have to move away to make money and send money back home, right? So Felix says, if I'm gonna do this, I gotta move to the Philippines and kind of create a support group for the Vancouver movement. So Felix came here to Canada, he called me up, he's like, I'm moving, I'm gonna give away all my stuff. We rented a big U-Haul truck, and I was like, so where are you moving to? So I went back to the Philippines, and he started sharing with me about, I'm like, why are you moving back to the Philippines? Most Filipinos move from the Philippines to come back, to come to Canada. And your family brought you here like when you were like a little boy, and now you're moving back, it doesn't make sense. And he explained to me the vision. And we stayed up till 3 in the morning, and we connected. And he was able to share his heart, he was able to share his dream and his passion. And him and I, we clicked, and I was like, okay, I get it, I want in. And Felix is like, I'm not here to recruit you, it's not a recruiting business. I'm just here to share with you why I'm excited and what change we're gonna do. And I'm like, I know, I want in. I wanna make that, I wanna be part of that movement. And that's why I'm here today, to share with you the blessings. It doesn't matter if you get in or not, honestly, it makes no difference to me. If every single one of you get in, I make no money off it, because of the way the business is structured. So to be honest, I'm not here to recruit anybody, I'm just here to share my blessings, because I've helped so many people in the last 2 months make a ton of money with this business, and I want to be able to share that with everyone. So I'll walk through this real quick with you. Basically, over here on the board I wrote down humanitarian, investment, and networking. There's 3 sides to this business. There's the humanitarian side, which I'm going to touch on real quickly. Let me ask everybody a question. Just put up your hands if the answer is yes. If I can ask, if you're all familiar with World Vision? Yes, no?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. For those of you who aren't familiar with World Vision, basically donate $1 a day, $30 a month, help a child somewhere in the world that needs help. It's a great concept, but how much of that money actually goes to the child? How much of that money actually is used for the child?
10%.
10%? That's a lot lower than I thought. I thought it was 30, but
10.
10? Okay. Well, now that you hear that, would you support World Vision? I would. I would support World Vision. Why? Because I'm not here to knock World Vision. I think World Vision is an amazing company. They've changed so many lives across the world. The reason it's 10% is because they got to pay people to answer the phones, first they got to advertise to tell you about World Vision. Then you call in and give your money. They got to pay people to answer the phones. The call centers take the majority of that money. Then they have to pay the fuel on the plane to drive the food, take the food to another country. They got to hire their staff to do it. There's a lot of expenses that comes in running World Vision. So I truly support and believe in World Vision. But let me ask you a question. And the reason I talk about this is because it's very impactful. This is why I start with humanitarian. If I can show you a way how instead of $1 a day, $30 a month, ongoing month after month after month to help one child, what if I can show you if you can donate $100 today without expecting a penny in return? If you donate $100 today to the Philippines, and I can guarantee you that that $100 will help 20 families for life, not 1 month, but for life. How many of you would donate $100 to help 20 families?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Basically, I have to ask that question. I've had no one say no to that answer, but I have to work on that pretense because If every one of you already said they'll give $100 to help 20 families, that's what your $100 is going to go to. It's going to help 20 families. But instead of just giving them the money, what we're going to do with that $100 is we're going to teach them how to fish. Instead of just giving them the fish, we'll teach them how to fish. We'll put them in business for themselves, make them self-sufficient, make them be able to run a profitable business that they can now work in the Philippines, make money, and not have to move away and be apart from their families, be an overseas worker. Why did they have to do that? They do that because they want to support their family. But why don't we give them a vehicle they can do that? Now, a lot of this business that I'm going to talk about in the next 45 minutes is going to be based on what happens in the Philippines. Because you have to understand the Philippine culture for you to understand how it affects you here. So we'll get to that throughout the presentation. But basically, I'm just educating, giving a little bit of background about the Philippines. Okay? In the Philippines, actually anywhere in the world, they say if you're going to get in business for yourself, you want to get in business in something that is consumable, right? Businesses like food, shelter, clothing, they're recession proof. No matter what happens in the economy, those are things that are going to last throughout the long haul. If the economy goes down, people are still going to have to eat. They're still going to have shelter. They're still going to have to buy clothes. Those are businesses that are for the long haul. In the Philippines, there's one other category, and that category is cell phone load. Now, I told you at the beginning, I'm going to explain to you what load is, because I told you Felix asked 50 people, if I could put you in the loading business, where you can now make money for your families without all the capital, would you want to be in the loading business? And out of the taxi cab drivers, the pedicab drivers, the maids, the gardeners, all the people who work 8 to 12 hours for 250 pesos, for less than $10, he asked them, and they said, yes, Felix, please, do you have an opportunity like this? If you do, please share this with me. This is the opportunity we've been waiting for our family. And Felix says, I'm not yet, but once I get involved, you'll be the first person I'm going to call. And since then, he's been able to affect so many lives in the Philippines. But the loading business, what it is, everybody here has a cell phone?
Yes.
With your cell phone, how are we used to paying? You get a bill at the end of the month, $50, $75, $100, whatever your plan is, and at the end of the month, that bill just keeps coming, month after month, month after month. In the Philippines, because they make so little money, they can't afford post-pay. So they're called load, prepaid. You go to the store, you get a prepaid card, you scratch it. If you have 20 pesos in your pocket, that's how much you're going to buy, 20 pesos worth of load. Now 20 pesos will give you unlimited texting. Now another really important fact that you need to know is in the Philippines is the text capital of the world. For those of you who have never seen this presentation before, I'm going to ask you a question. How many text messages do you think are generated in the Philippines alone? Somebody, 2 or 3 answers right now? I've not seen this presentation before. How many texts?
Around 3 million,
3 million?
yeah.
Someone else? Anyone else? Rough guess. How many texts do you think? 100 million, someone said? Okay. The answer is, target market is anybody and everyone with a cell phone. And the answer is they generate, this is actually an old presentation, they generate 2 billion text messages a day. Every single day. Day in, day out. Now when Felix first saw that, he's like billion, not million, billion. When Felix showed this to me, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh my goodness. There's so much money being generated in the Philippines. People just don't know how to capitalize on it. People don't know how to get into a market to get their piece of the pie. We all missed Microsoft, we all missed Starbucks, we all missed all of these great opportunities because we were not there at the right time. Well, VMobile presented a time for all these people in the Philippines. And basically what they said is if there's 2 million, Felix actually called his cousin at the Sun Telecommunications, and he says if they generate 2 billion text messages a day, would it be safe to say 1 peso represents, or sorry, 1 text represents 1 peso? That's $2 billion generated daily. And his cousin said, no, Felix, most people are on unlimited text. So you can't say that 1 text is 1 peso. And he's like, okay, would it be safe to say half of that is generated in money? And he says, yes, about $1 billion. Out of 2 billion texts, there's $1 billion pesos generated day in, day out, 365 days of the year. Right? So there's so many opportunities now to make money, because how many of you would like to capitalize on $1 billion every day?
Oh yeah, that's a no-brainer.
Right? It's a no-brainer. So everybody wants to be in the loading business. The problem is, it's so expensive. If I can give every one of you a McDonald's today, you'd all jump on that because you know McDonald's works. You know that the franchise model works. That's why people buy McDonald's. The problem is most people don't have $1 million sitting around to buy that, right? So basically, it's a huge and expanding business. For those of you taking notes, it has a 14% growth rate every year. And right now there's 90 million cell phone users, which is probably more because it's an old presentation. I'm going to be getting the updated slides, and then we can do a retaping. I know some of you are taping the presentation right now with all the new information. But based on what I have, which is made in October, is basically what I'm working with right now. Once I get the new slides, you'll see all the new numbers. Basically, when you get a cell phone, is your cell phone a liability or an asset? Just when you buy it, without doing anything with it, when you buy a phone and just use it for personal use, is it a liability or is it an asset? Liability. That's actually correct. Right. When you buy a phone, it costs you money. Then you bring the phone home and you plug it to the wall. It charges you hydro. Get charged again. Then you have to pay your monthly bill. That's also a cost. All that money is, your cell phone is a money-eating device. VMobile says every time a Filipino sends a text in the Philippines, it costs them 1 peso. Right? Every time someone sends an MMS, it costs them 2 pesos. Every time they make a phone call, it'll cost them 30 pesos. And all that money goes to the top 3 telecom giants. Can everybody see back there? So all this money is generated day in, day out. Again, $1 billion of revenue every day. VMobile says, why don't we create users to become dealers? Why don't we teach the average person to now represent Smart, Sun, and Globe? So a lot of you are familiar with Fido, TELUS, Rogers, Bell, AT&T if you're here from the States, T-Mobile, all these different companies. These are the top giants that we're familiar with. In the Philippines, there's 3, Smart, Sun, and Globe. Those 3 giants monopolize the market. There are other smaller companies, but it's kind of like Solo is owned by Bell. They're a subsidiary, a sub-franchise of the franchise itself. Does that make sense? Yeah. So the top 3 in the Philippines are Smart, Sun, and Globe, and very comparable to our Fidos and Rogers here in Canada. So VMobile came in the picture, and they made a deal with the 3 top telecom companies, and they said, if a Filipino used their phone, why don't we save them 10 to 15%? Why don't we take that 10% savings and put it back in their pocket? Every time they send a text, every time they send an MMS, they save 10%. Every time they make a call, they save 10%. Turning their liability from a liability to an asset, their cell phone from a liability to an asset. VMobile is also, if you want to find out what is VMobile all about, VMobile is not just in the telecommunication industry. As much as the telecommunication industry is a money gold mine, and there's so much money to be made in those 3 companies, VMobile is a giant membership model. And basically all they are is a reseller of everyone else's products. So what they decided to do, said, look, we got all these members. Why don't we go out and network with all of these other companies? So they made deals with landline cards, online gaming, electronic load, internet, and now they added a company called Meralco. For those Filipinos in the room, you know exactly what that is. We take electricity here in Canada for granted. Walk in the room, flip on the light switch, boom, lights go on. Why? Because we all can afford post-paid plans. Pay our $40 to BC Hydro, we got electricity. On the Philippines, everything is prepaid, not just cell phones. Everything is prepaid. So if they cannot afford their hydro, guess what? They're going to be doing a meeting in the dark, similar to what we're doing now by choice. They do it because they have no other choice. They can't afford their hydro. You see Felix lighting candles to a meeting like this, 20, 30 people in the house, big families. Another thing you need to know about Filipinos, they got big families, 8, 10, 12, 15 people, aunties, uncles, nephews, cousins, nieces, grandparents, they all stick together. And that's why when one person in the family gets this, it's like wildfire and it just explodes. Felix says, look, we're doing a meeting here in the dark. He's like, why is that? And I say, Felix, because we can't afford to pay our hydro bill. We cannot afford to pay Meralco this week because we didn't make enough money. Felix says, well, what if I can save you 10% on your hydro? Wouldn't that be a benefit to your family? They're all like, yeah, of course, right? So we're not just capitalizing on the cell phone industry, we're helping people in the Philippines capitalize on every market. Landlines. Did you know I invited a 77-year-old woman, Filipino woman, to my presentation, and by the end of the presentation she was in tears And she told me during the presentation, she says, Daniel, did you know how hard it is for the Philippines to get a landline in their house? Did any idea how hard it is to get a landline in your house? It's more easier to get a cell phone than a landline. Because we have to bribe somebody in the Philippines to install a landline in our ground. And that most people don't do it. And it just costs way too much money. That's why the cell phone industry, but now we can offer a discount even with landlines. Online gaming. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. You're going to lose a little bit of respect for me right now when I share this with you. I'm going to ask a question. How many hours a day do you think I would play, when I was 16 years old, I would play video games? Somebody, anybody that doesn't know the answer to this already. How many hours a day? Put your hand up. Just throw out a number.
8 hours.
8 hours a day?
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else? By the way, it's more. So, anybody else? 10? A couple more guesses? 12 more?
Don't say 16.
Anybody else?
Oh my god.
Okay. My uncle, standing right there, Michael.
I'm no snitch.
He knows that. Okay, I'll tell you. Basically, I would spend minimum 16 hours a day. Minimum. Most days I would spend 18 to 19 hours a day playing. People ask me the question, Daniel, what are you doing with your life? Why are you throwing your life away? Why are you spending all this time playing video games? And they're like, when do you eat? When do you sleep? When do you go to the bathroom? When do you have a social life? And I would answer that question. I was like, social life? My social life is online. I was more social before all the Facebooks and Twitters and everything came out with things like MIRC, Merck, because I was in the social media of video games. I was connected to people all over the world. Number 2, when did I sleep? I slept in front of my computer. I slept when I got too tired and I just passed out on my keyboard. Clonk. Number 3, when did I eat? I ate while I was gaming. Didn't you go to school? No, I skipped school. My parents would ask me, why are you throwing your life away? I'm like, really? Is that what you think I'm doing? I was like, let me ask you a question. How much do you and dad make in a year? And they were like, 50, 40, just under 50,000 a year. And I was like, okay. Did you know the champion of Halo makes $50,000 a day? A day. That is why I'm so committed to my video games. I was one of the best in North America. When I would compete against everyone, people thought I was cheating. People thought that I was a hacker. They're like, he's cheating, he must be using some kind of cheat. I would get to know what people would do before they would even think of doing it. I would learn reactions. If I do this, people are going to do this, and I would count, and I would be one of the best gamers in the world. And I told my parents, I said, I am one of the best in the world. That is why I do what I do. I made a lot of good money playing video games. The champion makes 50 grand a day. That is why I was committed to it. Now, I say that story for 2 reasons. Number 1, we added online gaming. I know this slide's a little bit old, but they got all the new games out there. And how many kids out there do you think, even if they can't afford it, would find a way to get the money to pay? By the way, everything's prepaid. They afford 20, if they have 20 pesos, they get 20 minutes of gaming. How many people do you think, if they're as committed as me, will find a way to get the money to participate in the gaming industry?
Okay, all of them.
Yeah. They'll find the time, they'll work a summer job, they'll do whatever they have to do to compete, because that is their life, right? The video game industry makes more money than TV and music combined. So I was like, get off my case, I know what I'm doing. And at that time, I might have been a little bit arrogant, but at the same time, I knew that I was good at what I did. And the one thing I respect my mom for is she was not a dream stealer. She said, if that's your dream and you're good at it, give it 110%. She supported me, okay? Now, I invited some of the best people in the world to come by, and that was the day I decided that I was going to retire from video games, because I might have been the best in North America, but I did not compete against the world's best. I had people fly down from Sweden all over, and I just, like, my reaction skills, everything was just way off the charts when it came to, when I saw them play, I was like, okay, I need to retire. Now, the second reason I tell you that story is because when I commit to something, I commit 110%. Now, I want you to know that I've committed 110% to VMobile. Why? I've committed not because I can make a lot of money. When I make my millions and millions of dollars, which I will very, very soon, I'm not going to be disappearing anytime soon. I'm going to be here to support every person in this room. In fact, I'll probably create more millionaires in this room than before I become a millionaire, because that's just how the business model works. I have to help a lot of people. And it's just so amazing that I've helped, I can look around the room right now, point out people who made more money than me, and that's amazing. But at the same time, I'm committed, I'm not going anywhere. I told Therese the other day, we sat down and I was like, I'm gonna be here for the long haul, right? My buddy Sean, he's like, you've helped me already 3 weeks, I committed to him, I'm gonna give him 3 weeks of my time, helping him create leaders. He's like, you're already giving me close to 3 weeks. I'm like, I know, but I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here to help you and help your team grow, so. So yeah, basically VMobile is basically a membership model, and they network with a whole bunch of other companies. Everybody wants to be in the loading business, but bottom line, it's just too expensive. If a Filipino only makes 250, 300 pesos a day, how the heck can they afford 6,750 pesos? They can't. It's just too expensive. Because in the Philippines, you have to have 3 phones, one for Globe, one for Smart, one for Sun, to be able to resell load to people. If somebody walks into 7-Eleven and says, look, I want to buy load, Sun load. And they said, okay. They would pull their Sun phone and send them load, however much they want, transfer it to them, right? That's how everyone transfers load in the Philippines, is phone to phone, person to person. But the problem is it just costs too much money to start a business. So VMobile says everybody already has a phone. Why don't you use your existing phone? By the way, most Filipinos have 2 to 3 phones. Did you know that? Most people don't have one, they have 2 to 3 cell phones. Joe, a good friend Filipino back there, why do people have 2 to 3 cell phones, Joe?
1 phone and 3 SIM card.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 phone and 3 SIM cards, or 2 or 3. Actually, you see them saying the dinner table, one in one hand, one in the other hand. 2 phones. Joe, why did people have 2 or 3 phones? You don't know? Okay. Basically, I thought you would know. You don't go to the Philippines that often? No. Okay. Basically, what happens is when somebody has a Sun phone and I text someone who's with a different company, Smart, it'll cost me 2 pesos. It'll cost me double the amount than if I were to text Sun to Sun or Smart to Smart. So as soon as I meet you and I say, what's your phone number? The next question I ask you is, what company are you with? What company are you would you represent? Sun, Smart, or Globe. And if you say Sun, I'll save your number in my Sun phone. We'll be texting Sun to Sun because it's just half the cost, right? Everything in the Philippines is price conscious. But at the same time, no, I'm not getting into that. I'll tell you that later. Basically, use your existing cell phone. Everyone has a phone. Use your existing cell phone. Use your existing SIM card. And what you said was 1 phone, 3 SIM cards, right? Now, what if you can use...
Is it cheaper to send Sun to Sun, or is it free?
Cheaper, unless you're on a plan. If you're on a plan, then it could be free. Yeah. Or if you have a 20 peso unlimited texting, then you can text for free to Sun. You were saying 3 cell cards, 1 phone. What if you can use 1 SIM card and text all 3 for the same price? Sun, Smart, and Globe. You don't need 3 SIM cards. 1 SIM card now works as all 3 at the same. Load 1 wallet will load all 3 companies. Access to our system, online loading, personal inventory, personal website, and the cost, 250 pesos. Now when I saw this, every single time I go eat McDonald's, every single time I get a Starbucks coffee, I feel guilty. Because I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? 250 pesos can put somebody in business for themselves. Not only they can save 10%, but if they choose to, they can sell load to other people and make 10% profit. That's huge. 1 family, 100 pesos to you, 100 to you, 100 to you, 10 people before breakfast. That's 1,000 pesos and making 10%, that's huge, right? What happens when you loaded, let's say 1,000 pesos, VMobile will give you that 10% extra. They'll give you 1,100 pesos. They'll transfer that into your account. So after you sell 100, 100, 100, you're left with 100 for yourself in your account as profit. That's the 10%, 10 to 15%. Now, you can do that any dealer like we talked about at the VMobile office or any of the major banks in the Philippines. BDO, Metro Bank, Union Bank, any of these banks here, you can go to and say, hey, I need load. Here's my money. The bank will give you a receipt. On the receipt will be your number. You send that number to VMobile. VMobile loads your account. It's very simple, very fast, very effective. It's a brilliant system. And again, this doesn't so much apply to us here in Canada unless you're a Filipino and you travel back and forth. But I need to understand how the system, where does the money come from? Because unless you understand where the money comes from, it's basically, you have to understand the Philippine culture and how it all works. Okay, this is a Sorry store. Now, Felix is on a nationwide campaign approaching all of these stores, and he's saying to them, do you sell load for Sun, Smart, and Globe? And if you do, can I show you an easier way By the way, if they want to sell for Globe directly, they got to go to Globe and say, we want to buy load to resell to the general public. And Globe will say to the Sorry Sorry store, well, you got to buy in bulk to get a bulk discount to make the difference. Make sense? Why buy 10, 20, 30,000 pesos up front to resell it? Well, what happens if you don't sell it and you're sitting on all that load, right? VMobile says, what if we approach these stores and say, would you like to sell on behalf of all three companies for 250 peso one time? 250 peso will give you a business that you can represent all three companies. And every time somebody buys, you'll sell load as people buy, so you're never out of pocket. You never have to go and buy bulk. You can just buy what people use. If you sell 3,000 pesos a day, great, then you load up 3,000 pesos a day. If you sell 5,000, load 5,000, whatever it is, that's what you don't have to buy in bulk anymore. So now let me ask you a question. How many of you would rather make 100% of your money on your own efforts? Or how many of you would rather make 1% on 100% efforts? Second one, if you say 1% on 100 people's efforts, put your hand up. It's about half the room. Let me ask the question to the other half the room that didn't put their hand up. Why would you want to make 100% on your own efforts? What happens if you're gone tomorrow? My buddy is Olin, he lays floors in for a living. He's like, I gotta make so much money putting in floors, laminate hardwood, vinyl, all this stuff into Florida. I was like, yeah, there's a lot of money in that industry. What happens if you lose your arm? What happens if my stepdad cut his thumb off? What happens if there's an accident? You are now reliant on your own self to make that money. What happens if you get sick and you can't go to work? What happens if the store owner says, I'm too sick to go to work today? They don't come in, they make zero money because their store's not open. So I'm going to teach you a concept, and this is the concept. This has been a retraining program that Felix has been addressing. When you put in on the investment side, now we're going to be talking about the investment side, when you put in your money, what does it do? It gives you the ability and the right to sell businesses to Filipinos in the Philippines. And let's say with your $100, we sell one store, one of your cards, to a Sorry Sorry store. That Sorry Sorry store can now, on his own personal consumption, save 10%. Can sell to other people, make 10% if they choose to. Or, what if you were the Sorry Sorry store? If I was a Sorry Sorry owner of a store in the Philippines, and a customer comes to me and says, Daniel, I need load. And I say, okay, you can buy load. How much do you need? Oh, I need 50 pesos. Okay, here's 50 pesos. Straight exchange, I make the markup based on the 10%, right? Now, I say to the customer, did you know you didn't have to come here today? Did you know that you did not have to come down to the store to buy your load? You could have bought it at home. In fact, if you would have bought it at home, you would have saved money. What do you think the customer's going to say? If you were the customer and you go to 7-Eleven and you buy something, they tell you can buy that same thing at home and for cheaper. How many of you would say how?
Oh yeah.
Yeah? The majority of you would say, yeah, of course, unless you're like, it's a no-brainer. Show me how. Now the store owner can say, I can set you up with VMobile to be a VMobile member. It's called our TAP program. And one store can teach 3 people now, and those 3 people can teach people, and it's a referral-based program, a networking-based program where, and I'm sick and tired of people saying to me, I'm not into this whole networking, referral-based program things. Everything in our life is referral and networking. We make money referring people to do stuff. It's just the way the world has gone, right? Hotmail has done it. Hotmail was made by a kid who basically said, look, why don't we create free email, right? Why don't we create a free email system so people don't have to pay for email? And 20-some-year-old kid in India, and basically that was his whole idea. He created a membership of people basically bought into the model to use free email. He created such a membership that he attracted Bill Gates' attention. And Bill Gates said, look, I'm interested in buying Hotmail. And the kid says, okay, how much you want to offer me for it? And Bill Gates, I'll give you $20 million. Now, back then, everything was on floppy disks, okay? And how many of you, if you got approached by Bill Gates for having something that's free, you don't own anybody. You don't own anything. All you own is a system that people can communicate. And you're giving those names to Bill Gates to use that system. How many of you would have taken the $20 million? Now, for those of you who didn't raise your hand, either you fell asleep, and I hope to wake you up, or you figured it out, what the kid figured out. He figured out that Bill Gates, in order to attract the amount of people that he had at that time, would cost Bill Gates $620 million through TV, newspaper, radio, and print, right? $620 million. So the kid said, no, I decline your offer. Bill Gates offered him 40. No, decline. 100 million. No, 200 million. How many people would say no to $200 million?
Yeah.
Right? They settled at $420 million. The kid figured it out. Bill Gates kind of choked a bit. He's like, I can't believe I'm writing a kid $420 million. He went to his advisors, and his advisor was like, don't worry. I know it seems like you're writing a kid $420 million is a lot for a couple floppy disks, but you're saving yourself $200 million. If you were to advertise, it would be one time. You get to hit the subscriber base over and over and over again, and it's going to keep growing. Bill Gates saved himself billions of dollars based on that one transaction, right? It's a referral system that grows. Everybody has a Hotmail. Everybody has a Gmail. So stop complaining about it. Just embrace it. It's the same concept we're doing with VMobile. Teach people. If you're saving money, teach people to save money too. If you have the benefits, why not share it with other people? Why not pass those blessings on to others, right? So the store owner says, you can now buy at home. That person buys 100 pesos. By the way, an average Filipino does 20 peso, let's say 20 peso unlimited texting, right? No phone calls, just texting. 20 peso unlimited texting times 30 days is 600 pesos a month generated. What if 100, let's say they only did 100 pesos a month, right? And that store owner, through his one card, reached out and affected 10,000 people. And he got 1 peso for every 100 pesos generated. Not 600, 100, right? That's 10,000 pesos a month that he made, and he didn't even have to open up his doors. There's 130 million people in the Philippines. Do you think it's hard to network, so give someone savings to find 10,000 people? Oh my goodness, no. So that is the concept. We have to retrain people and teach them the difference. 1% on 100 people's efforts, 1 peso on 100 pesos, as opposed to 10% selling below. Make sense? Okay. So VMobile, if everybody wants to get a VMobile store, and it's only 250 pesos, where the heck do you get these stores from? You could only get them from someone like us. Now this is where we come in, okay? At the beginning I asked everyone a question. How many of you would donate $100 if you know it was going to help 20 families? Right? 3,988 pesos gives you a dealership, gives you the right to be Ray Kroc, gives you the right to own a McDonald's franchise. Or sorry, no, gives you the right to sell McDonald's franchises, right? You become Ray Kroc. Okay, 3,988 pesos, $100. That's Filipinos, by the way, I'm doing a lot of pesos talk, just divide by 40 and that will give you the number, rough number of what it is. So 4,000 pesos divided by 40 is $100. What does that give you? That gives you 2 signs that say buy load here, 3 SIM cards sponsored by Smart, 20 priceless, 20 quick guides. Unless you live in the Philippines, most of this is irrelevant to you. But I said to somebody else the other day, one of Sean's friends, he's like, no, it's not irrelevant. I still need to know where does the money go to. Well, it goes to buy tools that will support people in the Philippines. But it'll also give you 20 access cards, 20 cards, which each card now is basically somebody starting a business. Remember, 250 pesos a card? Now, I know a lot of you have already did the math in your head. 20 pesos, or sorry, 250 pesos times 20 cards is 5,000 pesos. What was your capital investment? What was your capital?
4,000.
4,000. So you invest the 4,000, we set up 20 stores properly, not go out there and just sell to anybody. We need to teach them how to run a business. So it's going to take some time to sell these stores. But once we sell all and get your 20 stores up and running, 20 McDonald's franchises up and running, guess what? You now made all your money back, your entire investment back. And I got to sit down with people and I got to teach them the difference. It's not how much you invest, it's what is your ROI? What is your return on investment? If you invest $100 and it comes back in a year from now, is that a good business? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, it's a great business. Why? Why is it? Because if you put $100 in the bank, how much money do you make? With taxes, inflation, Bank charges, you actually lose money. Your $2 or $3 that you would get at the end of the year, you're actually less money than when you put in. But people don't see that. People are like, oh, I get a little bit of interest, right? But they forget about everything else. $100, you made all your money back, and now you made profit. You made 5,000 pesos.
And most businesses in Canada take 3 years to
Make
get out of
profit.
the rent anyway.
Turn a profit,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
3
right.
years. So, but it's not gonna take 3 years, but even if it did, that's, like I said, it's a great business. I'm gonna show you this. You put $100 in. We set up 20 stores for you in the Philippines. Let's say it took you 3 years to do that, right? It's not gonna take 3 years, but let's say it did. Every time that store runs volume, for the rest of your life, you're gonna make 1 to 2% residual income. Now, I gotta be clear on this. This could be somebody using a cell phone and just personal use. I'm buying a card to save money, 250 pesos, and every time I use the phone, I save money. You still make 1 to 2%, but it's low volume, there's not that much peso generated. So 1 to 2% on a little bit is very little, right? It could be somebody that's going out there that has a sorry store and sells low to people, right? And they're gonna sell thousands of pesos a day. On average, your 20 cards, it's a sample calculation. The sample says 20 cards will generate about 1,000 pesos worth of load. Times 20 cards is 20,000 pesos a day. Now again, some are gonna do less, some are gonna do more, but on average, when you average the two out, you should be getting about 1,000 pesos a day. But even if it was only 500 pesos a day, honestly, that's residual ongoing income. You already made all your money back. This is all extra bonus, right? 20,000 times 30 days is 600,000 pesos a day going through your dealership. And what did you do? You put $100 in. You make 1% of that, that's 6,000 pesos, $150 a month. 2% is 12,000 pesos a month. That's $300 Canadian on a $100 investment. That's huge. Now, even if it took time to get these cars properly set up, get these stores properly set up, you're setting up yourself a residual base income for the rest of your life. So be patient, right? It's not a get rich quick thing. It's not one of those multi-level, make a lot, like you're gonna make a ton of money, but it's not a get rich quick scheme. So I just gotta be clear on that, okay? Now, Felix is like, we wanna expand nationwide, but why stop there? Felix is like, I don't just wanna affect my people. And hear my heart when I say this. There's 130 million people in the Philippines. There's a lot of people that need our help. But there's 7 billion people in the world. There's more people in the world that need help than just in the Philippines. Felix is like, if this was just for the Philippines, I'm out. I want to make sure that I can now affect people worldwide. That is why I stepped up. When I saw this presentation, I stepped up and I was like, I want to be a leader. I want to create something that I can help people locally in my backyard. I sponsor somebody in Bulgaria. I've never even been to Bulgaria. I sponsor somebody in Regina. I'm like, now I'm going to Edmonton in a couple of weeks. I'm going to be sitting down with people in Edmonton. I'm going to be traveling, helping people all over the world. Why? Because in 2 months, I've helped so many people in my own backyard make a lot of money. I've created so many leaders here that I can literally start traveling and help people worldwide. 7 billion people. There's a lot of people that need our help. Don't you know people in Russia, China, India, Australia, Africa, different places that need to make money? They want to, the business, let's go back here. The business is run and operated in the Philippines, the 5 little islands. That's where the business is operated. But the opportunity to be a Ray Kroc and invest into the Philippines is global. How many of you would like to share this opportunity? Not share it because you can make money. I can stop this presentation right now. I talked about the humanitarian and the investment side. I don't have to get into the networking side. I can stop right here. There can be no more money on the plate. How many of you would still share this because it's an awesome opportunity?
For sure.
Yeah. VMobile says we'll compensate you for that. That's the networking side. That's what I'm going to get into. But just to reiterate, I just sponsored everyone in the room giving $100 without expecting it back. I re-sponsored everyone in the room when I talked about how you can make your $100 back and help 20 families. And potentially affect one card, one store can link to 88,000 people in the Philippines. 88,000, and I'm going to do a training on that later, so it's a very new program, so I'm not going to talk about it now, but those of you who want to learn more about that program, we'll be doing trainings in the upcoming weeks on that. But on the networking side, there's only 2 more ways to make money. Now, on the 4th way to make money, it basically says every time you're referred, and we have a sign-up sheet when you walk in, it says who referred you, who brought you. Because VMobile says if you bring somebody yeah, we're gonna pay you, we're gonna compensate you, it's gonna cost us money to advertise on TV, media, social networking sites, different things, it's gonna cost us money. So why would we do that? Why don't we just pay you and people like yourself to share the word, to share the blessings? How did this affect you? If you made a lot of money with this, like Jay did, Jay shared it with Rob. Why? Do you mind if I share it?
No, I don't mind at all. No.
Rob has an autistic son. Rob, from the government, what, $20,000 a year?
Well, it's 20,000 till he's 5, and then after 5 years old, he only gets 6,000 a year.
6,000.
So it's not much.
To age 5, he gets 20,000, and after that, it's 6,000. Don't you think somebody who has an autistic son needs to make at least 60,000 minimum to be able to give the proper care to someone who has an autistic son?
More than that.
More than that.
More than
yeah.
that.
He has to work full time. Your wife's home full time with your
She's
son?
home. She doesn't work.
She
no.
doesn't work. She's home full time, but you're working full time job
I'm working
to
full-time.
compensate the difference that the government's not there for you, right?
Yeah, and
You
I got a
wish
lot.
you could-
And I got a lot of expenses, like everybody else, car loans, bills, and it's
Yeah.
still not enough.
But you would rather be there full time for your son.
Well, of course, yeah.
So that is why Babu decided to share with him. Babu has been in this business just 2 months now. He came in with a $300 investment. I've helped that gentleman over there in 2 weeks make $100. 3 weeks later, we got back together. He made about $900. So he recouped all of his investment, reinvested his $100. So now, so he's made $900 after that. Then on top of that, we sat down the other day. It was close to $1,500 on a $300 investment. Are you flipping kidding me? How can you do that in a month or two? In any other business, there's lots of business you can make money, but how many can do it in a business where you're affecting and impacting people worldwide, right? That's why I'm proud to share this with people, because I want to have more testimonies of people like Jay who goes out there and shares it and gets blessed. Every time Jay invites somebody, every time any of you, even if you're a guest and you brought somebody else, we had a sign issue, we said, who referred you? It's not for us, it's for you, because you're going to make 500 pesos every time you refer someone to this business. VMobile wants everyone to build 2 teams. If you decide to network, and network, I'm going to be very clear, is optional. You don't need to network. You can invest, like you said, 3 years for any business to get started. You can invest, and in a shorter time than running a business, your investment will make you a ton of money, right? But if you decide that you want to make money faster, and you decide that you want to share this business with people, you can go out there and you can network with people and share the blessings, not recruit. And I'm going to be very clear. I don't want this business to have that stigma over another multi-level marketing business that go out there and recruit people. I hate this business that they say we're going to give you 500 pesos, and the reason I hate this slide right here, not the business, the reason I hate this slide is because a lot of people see this as easy money. You know why? Because I put in 240 people in my business in 2 months. That's easy money because everybody sees the business, how it works every step of the way. They're like, I'm so much better than Daniel, I can do that, right? And so basically, it treats you instead of a human being, if I did not have the chance to sit down with Rob and sit down and see his family and look him in the eye and treat him like a human being, say, look, this blessed my family. I want to give those same blessings back to you. I want to be able to help you make, even if it's an extra 10 grand a month. Would you be happy with that?
10 grand? Yeah.
10 grand, right?
Even a grand, even 2,000 would
Even
work.
$2,000, right? If I can help him, oh my goodness, I've done so much good already, right? But a lot of people are attracted to the easy money, and I don't like get rich quick things. I don't like easy money. But someone else would have met Rob on the street, come to this VMobile presentation. Why? 500 pesos, 500 pesos, 500. They look at you as a number. They look at you as it's $12.50. Give me a flippin' break. My gas money was more expensive to come here today. And I don't make any money if anybody joins, because I didn't bring anybody. This is only if you bring somebody, you get $12.50. But it's easy money to make on the networking side. And it's not paid by the person who got started, it's paid by the company. VMobile says, thank you for sharing this with somebody else, we'll give you $12.50, right? So that's the second way. Build 2 teams, Rob. You put your brother Rick, you're going to find somebody else. You got the Nelson family. You just made, if you would have referred Nelson and Rick, you just made 505, and that's 1,000 pesos in your pocket. Every 4,000 pesos is $100. You just made a fourth of his $100 back already. All you did was refer 2 people, right? Now, the 5th way to make money, and this is the final way. I'm going to end with this in the next 10 minutes. I'll open up for questions and answers. Basically, this is royalty bonus money. And basically all this says is, let me ask you a question. How many of you would rather have a penny doubled a day for 30 days or a check for $1 million?
First one.
If you would take the $1 million, put your hand up. Put your hand up if you take the $1 million. Okay, all of you get it, okay? And I love that. I sat down with some people and they would take the $1 million because they're not patient. This business is all about patience, right? We're changing the world one person at a time, and if you have the patience, you're gonna make a gob of money. Seriously, you're gonna make a gob, right? Ray Kroc, basically he got $1 million for his idea per McDonald's franchise that he opens up. But Ray Kroc also makes residual income every time a hamburger is sold, every time a milkshake is sold, every time a french fry, he makes residual income on all the volume. You're making residual income, you're blessing lives. You're gonna make, on one card, you're gonna make a gob of money. On 20 cards, oh my goodness, you add up all that, it's tons, right? Royalty income, the more people you bless, I shared this with one person, I shared this actually with 3 people. I shared this with my best friend Alec, I shared this with Jay, I shared this with my friend Pam. 3 people. Guess what? They all joined. Alec got in, did no work. He has a team of over 250 people in his organization. And he's like, I didn't share this with one person. I'm like, I know. I built it all for you. Pam came in to Jay's business and put 40 people in her group, just like that, in a month. Jay's like, oh my goodness, the business works. I'm like, I know, I told you. So Jay started referring people.
Yeah.
And guess what? Jay made a ton of money now, right? I love seeing people make a ton of money, right? So basically, penny doubled a day for 30 days. You tell one person on your team A, one person on team B, you're done, right? Now, I don't recommend that you just sponsor 2 and quit, because I've already sponsored 2. I'm not quitting. I'm still sharing this, right? In fact, I want people to show 4 a week, not 4 in their lifetime. Because the next slide says 4 in your lifetime. I'd like you to do it in a week. Why? Because it'll fast track your progress. It'll make money faster, right? But watch this. Let's say you just tell 2 people. Well, those 2 are going to tell people, and it's going to turn to 10, which turns to 20, 50, 100, 200. Now, I did a presentation, and somebody said to me, Daniel, that'll only happen in an ideal world. It'll only happen on paper. That stuff doesn't happen in real life. I'm like, really? Have you not heard my whole presentation? I said I did that in 9 weeks. I put all those people in my business in 9 weeks, and I had no meetings, no support. By the way, this is a newer idea to Canada. How many of you have heard of this idea before coming here today? You've heard about it?
This idea or
Yeah,
general?
VMobile.
No.
None of you have heard this idea. Why? Because I decided to step up and share this with people here in Canada. Now I got a whole bunch of people sharing this with people. But this is a new market here in Canada. Everyone you talk to is like, oh my goodness, we can make money when people text in the Philippines. They're like, yeah, bring me to a meeting. I want to learn all about that, right? It's a new concept. Your teams are going to grow so fast. This is the money that's going to come in the red there. Every time your teams grow, that's the money that comes in. One-time income, not residual. One-time income, up to 900,000 pesos a month, which works out to 22,500 Canadian dollars. 22.5. Now, once you're making that money, your organization is going to keep growing. Everyone on your team, every one of your 500 people, I guarantee you, are going to share with 2 people. Well, that's how you got 1,000. These 900 are going to share, right? And it's just going to keep growing, growing, growing. We're going to put together such a movement here. We've already started a movement. I just want more and more people to step up and get the vision and decide
You
to run
said
with
that's
us.
a one-time thing?
One time per every time you put one person on one side, one on the other side, VMobile will give you an additional 500 pesos. It's called a pairing bonus, right? So I shared this with Jay, I shared this with my friend Alec. I got 500 for the pair, and now they share with people in a group, right? And it just I can't control everyone here in this room. In fact, I have not met anyone in this room personally. It was all through people referring people. Make sense?
And they get the same benefit for doing the exact same thing.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So it takes a life of its own.
Exactly.
So you're saying that 903,000 pesos, it was a one-time payment?
Yeah, $22,000 one time, but once it gets to that point, the ball's already moving. It's basically going to keep coming in month after month after month because everyone's going to be referring 1 or 2 people, right? In fact, I'm teaching people, don't show 1 or 2. This whole business is all based on showing 2 or 4 people. I'm like, you can do that in a week, come on, really? Everybody, if they have that mentality, it's going to grow so much faster. Now, when people see that, they always say, well, this business has to be a pyramid scam. They always say that to me. Actually, I gotta rephrase that question. They don't always say that to me. They used to always say that to me when I used to be in Amway. Okay, I was in Amway for about 7 years, maybe something like that, 7 years. And to be honest, I got trained and mentored about pyramids and all this stuff because there was so much objection. Everyone already heard of Amway and everyone was so negative about it, right? That's why when I addressed the networking with Hotmail, I was so upfront about it because I'm sick and tired of people saying that to me. In this business, I've had one person say it to me. One person said to me, it's a pyramid. Now, the reason is because I sponsored her son. Her son was all fired up and excited. He brought his mom down. And his mom's like, what's this pyramid thing you got my son all involved in? I was like, my uncle was there and he's like, you should probably really see this presentation first before you make insinuating comments, right? Number one, if it was a pyramid, do you think Penta Capital, a multi-billion-dollar company, would invest in something that's a pyramid scam? Number two, do you think Sun, Smart, and Globe, the three top telecom companies, would network and say, yeah, we'll put our name on the line working with you if they were illegal? No, they wouldn't. It's common sense. They wouldn't be part of the DTI. They wouldn't have a product or service. They would all it's just basically, because there are illegal systems out there. And that's why I got to educate you. When I sat down with that lady, I was like, okay, what you're insinuating is that I'm doing something illegal and unethical. And either you're telling me that I'm a scam artist and I'm here to scam everyone in this room, or you're telling me that I've been scammed and I'm too stupid to do my own due diligence. Which one is it? And she's like, I didn't mean to say either. I'm like, I know, but you made those comments and it attacked my character. And I don't like when people attack my character because you're telling me that I'm doing something that I shouldn't be doing, and that's a character attack. It has nothing to do with the business, right? So I'm like, if you get to know me, I invite people to my house, get to know me as a person. They'll know that I have the best interest for everyone. I want to make sure this is win-win, that everyone wins in this, right? What she was thinking, she's like, is it a pyramid? Let me answer your question. Is it a pyramid? Yes, it's a pyramid. Get over it, okay? What you thought this business was a pyramid scam. You thought it was illegal. Guess what? Your job is a pyramid. The person at the top, your job, makes all the money. Bill Gates will always make more money than the janitor who comes in Microsoft. All the CEOs working their way up. What happens when they start making more money in the company? What generally happens? When you start making more money in the company, you start climbing up that corporate ladder, don't you normally get downsized? Don't you normally get cut territory? Don't they normally say, okay, we're going to replace you with somebody younger, faster, more good looking, will work for half the cost? Right?
Yeah.
So your job's a pyramid. Everything's a pyramid. Everything has that pyramid structure. And I'm sick and tired of that. People have that connotation that pyramids are bad. It's the illegal pyramids that are bad and they should stay away from. And this is not an illegal pyramid. I'm going to prove it to you. In an illegal binary system, they say you have to have 2 on this side, 2 on this side, 4 on this side, 4 on this side. Everything has to be equal. If something happens to one person and this person dies, the chain is broken, no one makes money. If something happens to this person, they get flushed out. There was a natural disaster that happened in the Philippines, a typhoon. Killed 600 people in the Philippines. If this was an illegal business, so many people would have lost their money. There's over 500,000 people in this business right now, right? It's growing so fast. This person falls in love and says, I quit, don't want to do it, I'm moving away. The whole chain's broken, no one makes money, right? Not part of the DTI, doesn't have a product or service, and all they care about is recruiting. Pure means money in Filipino, Tagalog, so pure mining is a joke, that's why I put it in the slide. But basically, all they care about is recruiting, and that is why I'm so adamant and say to people, I don't like people for the whole 500 pesos to get in this business. You already got in, not expecting a penny back. You already got in knowing you're going to make your money back and help 20 families. You already got in when you're happy with 1 to 2% residuals. That 500 pesos gives people motivation to share it, but that motivation should have been there way before the money came, right? So that's why I say it's not a recruiting business. VMobile, basically they're saying is if you go out there and you show 2 people, person A, person B. Person B shows 2 people, does the same thing, A and B. That secretary with a kind of hunched walk back goes out there, only shows 1 person because she's busy. She's a hardworking person, don't have time to build this business. That's fine, she shows 1. Person A only shows 1 because they're busy. Who shows 1, who shows 1, who shows 1? Does that look the same like on the pyramid side over there?
No.
Everything's on different levels, right? Well, Rob, if that was you, you're on top there, and you put A and B, with your brother and Nelson, you got 500 pesos for that pair.
Yeah, I did.
In fact, you already made that money, right?
I did.
Yeah. Now, your Nelson and your brother also put somebody in their business. You make another 500 pesos, right? Well, what's this? This other person down here and over here, just, see they're on different lines? Nothing's equal. It's nothing straight across, right?
Yeah.
Everything is, your business is all over the place. The way I like to look at it is, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 people on team B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people on team A. You got 4 pairs. 4 pairs gave you 2,000 pesos, plus your 500 for referring and 500 for first. You made 3,000 pesos. Does everybody see that? Does everyone see where the 3,000 pesos come from? Right? So guess what? Every 4,000 pesos is $100. And what did you do? You showed 2 people this
Yeah.
business, right? You almost get $100 back. Well, guess what? This person down here is what they call waiting to be paired, right? Because he doesn't have a pair. In any other business, most businesses say you have to find that person a pair within a certain amount of time, otherwise you lose that commission, right? Well, in VMobile, there's no expiration date, no deadline, no flush out. This could be a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years sitting there. When you find someone on the other team, you'll make that pair. That's what I love about this business. In the meantime, Rob,